In a senior living dining room, a new director spins an elder's wheelchair to face the wall after a spill. The cook steps out from the kitchen, defies him, and risks her job to seat the man back with his table and help him eat. Quiet care reveals the elder's past and needs, and small changes ripple through the routine afterward. Before we dive in, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And hey, where are you tuning in from? Leave your country in the comments. I love seeing how far these stories reach. The new director gripped the wheelchair handles and spun the old man away from his table. The bowl went over. Orange soup slid down his sweater and onto the tile. Metal brakes squealed and every fork froze. The director's voice was bright and sharp. "If you can't stop spilling," he said loud enough for the room, "you eat facing the wall." Fluorescent lights buzzed. The dining room smelled like green beans and bleach. The director flicked the wet bib with 2 fingers and held it like a warning flag. The old man's hand searched for his spoon. It lay on the floor near another pair of shoes. An aide dipped to grab it, then stood up fast when the director's look landed on her. Lena watched from the pass, elbow deep in a pan of mashed potatoes. She had heard the squeal of the brakes even over the clatter of trays and the slap of oven doors. She knew him, Mr. Alvarez. He liked extra bread and the seat by the window. He was the one who touched his chest twice before he took a bite. She had a written warning in her locker for giving him butter once on a heart-healthy day. She needed the overtime tonight for rent. They had said at the morning meeting, "No drift from policy, no exceptions, our numbers are a mess." The new director had no stains on his tie then. He had a firm clap. He had looked everyone in the eye and said the word compliance 3 times. Lena had nodded. She had also watched the dishwasher break down and the delivery guy show up late. She knew paper plans folded in a kitchen steam. Another spoon clinked to the floor. The room shifted. Black vinyl chairs creaked. Someone whispered, "Poor guy," and someone else said, "Shh." The director set a clean bowl down on an empty table, far from the spill, and pointed at the corner. The old man's lips moved, but the hearing aid tucked behind his ear was loose. His eyes darted between the wall and his friends. Lena wiped her hands on her apron. Her palms came back slick. She looked at the expo screen. 5 plates hung on the wait time. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. The number was her landlord. She slid the phone back without checking. She took off her gloves and stepped out of the kitchen. "Back in the kitchen," the director said without turning. His tone got soft around the word back. Whatever smile he had in meetings was gone. His shirt had a thin orange streak. Now, he dabbed at it with a napkin. Lena kept walking. She moved around a serving cart and past coffee urn. She put her hand on the brake. She could feel the heat in the metal. Mr. Alvarez looked up at her like people do when they think they are about to be scolded. "It's okay," she said, quiet. "We're going to eat at your table." She kicked the folded spoon away from a shoe so no one would step on it. She lifted the brake and rolled the chair back, hands firm. The chair was heavier than it looked. His cuff brushed her wrist. She could feel the trimmer through the sleeve. She set him by his table again and straightened the placemat. A drip of soup ran down the chrome leg and made a tiny orange puddle. The director grabbed the chair again. "Do not move, residents," he said, louder. A few heads turned hard. "You don't have the training." He glanced at her name badge. "Cook, I'll clean it," Lena said. She kept her hands on the handles. Her jaw shook. She put her foot against the wheel so it would not slide. "He's eating here. Back." The director's voice went flat. He looked at the table behind her, where a couple in matching sweaters stared at their untouched peas. "We have protocols. Liability." He held up his palm toward her like a stop sign. An aide edged close to the spill with a towel. The director flicked 2 fingers for her to wait. The towel stayed hanging, dripping bleach water. The old man's hand hovered over the empty bowl. Lena reached across and set another bowl in front of him. It was full and hot. Steam rose up and fogged his glasses. She put a napkin under the bowl so it wouldn't skate. "Careful," she said to the old man, soft, and his mouth pulled into a small smile that showed the edge of a tooth. "You're done tonight." The director kept his voice calm now, too calm. "Clock out?" He pulled a form from the folder tucked under his arm. The form was already half filled. He set his pen on it, poised. "Write up for insubordination." "Textbook?" Lena didn't move. "Write me up," she said. Her hands were steady now. After dinner, a security guard stepped in from the hall. He had a set of keys that jangled on his belt and a comfortable face. He looked like he wanted to be anywhere else. "Hey," he said, low to no one and everyone. The director aimed his form at Lena like a pointer. You don't get to decide order of operations. You are not in charge. His finger tapped the paper. You will leave the floor. Lena felt her cheeks burn. She heard the dishwasher squeal again in the back, a belt slipping steady and pathetic. She put a soft roll in Mr. Alvarez's palm. He squeezed it with a small, satisfied sound. She used a towel to wipe his sweater where it was wet. The soup had sunk into the knit. It would leave a mark. "Lena," the security guard said, using her name like a hand on her shoulder. "Let's just step out." "I am not leaving him facing a wall," she said. The sentence came out like it had waited all day to be born. She looked at the old man's face. He looked at the bowl again. He lifted the spoon and shook. He tried another time. The spoon clanked. He locked eyes with his own hand like it was a stranger. The director sighed, and something like tiredness pulled at his mouth. "Look," he said, softer now. "We can't have spills. We can't have falls. Families complain. They sue. We close. I'm not the bad guy." He rubbed the orange stripe on his sleeve again. "I'll mop," Lena said. "I'll sit with him for 5 minutes. That's it." She turned to the security guard. 5. She held up her hand. The security guard looked at the director. The director shook his head, small. The guard shifted. "They want you off the clock," he said, almost sorry. Lena slid her badge off her neck and put it on the table. "Fine," she said. "I'll sit off the clock." She took the chair next to Mr. Alvarez. She poured a little soup onto the spoon and steadied his wrist with 2 fingers. He lifted slow and stubborn. A bit of soup reached his mouth. A little slid down his chin. He made a soft me sound. His shoulders dropped an inch. People in the room turned back to their food like a radio went down. The buzz of talk rose from a thin scrape to a low hum again. An aide bent and wiped the floor with fast circles. Another carried a shirt from a laundry cart and draped it over the chair back. The director wrote on the form without looking up. He tore the white top sheet off and set it on the table by Lena's badge. He walked to the next spill and knelt, knees cracking. He pressed a napkin on it like a wound. Lena sat until the old man's bowl was half empty. She showed him where to put the spoon back down. She broke the roll into pieces he could grip. She kept her 2 fingers under his wrist, light as a sparrow. Her stomach growled. She didn't look at the clock. When he was done, she took him to his room. The security guard followed at a polite distance and then hung back. In the elevator, the old man looked at the mirrored doors. He licked his bottom lip like a boy. A line of soup had dried there. She wiped it with the corner of a clean pillowcase she'd grabbed. His room had a window facing the parking lot. Sodium lights made a soft amber square on the floor. There was a ceramic bus on the shelf with dings on the roof like it had been dropped. Next to it, a small pin on a ribbon, tucked into the wood with a thumbtack. City Transit safe driver, 30 years. A photo in a cheap frame showed a younger man in a uniform cap with 3 kids climbing his arms like a tree. Lena pulled a clean sweater from his closet. Navy, with his name written in Sharpie on the tag. She tugged it over his head and carefully guided his arms through one at a time. He breathed out when the collar settled. She zipped it slow. His hand went to his chest twice. On the dresser, a strip of tiny batteries sat in a neat row, days of the week written under each hole in shaky blue pen. Monday had a circle around it even though it was Thursday. A note card taped near the lamp said, in block letters, "Please don't turn me away from people." Another card under it said, "Small spew, no straw." "Okay," Lena said. Window. She rolled him so the corner of the parking lot showed the lone maple by the curb. A car pulled in, lights washing the room white for a second and then sliding away. She went back down and mopped until the bleach laid flat over the soup smell. The dining room was half empty now. The director stood by the coffee urn, forearms on the counter, head down, staring at something on his phone. He looked up when she got close. He didn't say anything. He moved his arms and left a napkin crumpled on the counter. It had a small orange thumbprint on it. Lena clocked out early. Her check would be light. The landlord would call again. She walked outside into cold air that slapped her awake. The security guard caught up and held the door with one hand. "Take it easy," he said. He meant more than one thing. The next day the email came. Reminder. It said, subject line in neutral gray, resident dignity during mealtimes. It had words like orient and assist and never. The aides printed it and taped it to the inside of the dishroom door where people actually looked. At lunch, rubber grips appeared slid onto the handles of spoons. Someone had cut foam to make the grips fat and easy to hold. A jar of them sat by the pass in a clear plastic cup, the cup used to hold sugar packets. The director showed up in shirt sleeves, tie off, with a towel tucked in his belt like a waiter. He moved slower between tables. He leaned in to talk instead of talking across the room. He still stared too long at the floor when there was a spill, but he crouched first, towel ready, before he opened his mouth. Lena lost her Saturday overtime. They put her on mornings. The money hurt. She set her phone face down more often, but mornings were quiet. She baked soft rolls earlier so they were warm when the first plates left the pass. She set one on a plate in advance and made herself wait to eat. She slid Mr. Ply, Mr. Doe, Alvarez into the same spot by the window every day. She put the spoon on the right side and the napkin folded in half, not in a triangle. An aide put the brakes on with a gentle push and said, "Okay, boss," like it was a joke. And Mr. Joke and Mr. Jaco, Alvarez smiled for real. Two teens in black polo shirts from the after-school program started stopping by the dining room before their homework shift. They poured water for each table so the cups were already half full. They learned who wanted ice and who didn't. One of them cut the meatloaf in small squares without being asked. Someone stuck a little bell at the end of each table. Not a loud bell, a soft one. People tried them and laughed. They settled instead for a little wave that got someone's eyes fast. It was enough. On a Tuesday, Lena watched the director step behind a chair and wait a beat before he nudged it out. He put his hand on the back, not on the man. He looked at the man first. "Can I help?" he asked. Not quite smooth. The man nodded and stood. The director waited again. He and the man moved together like a slow dance where nobody leads. Lena took her break near the back door by the dumpsters. It was where the best air lived. She did not smoke. She let the cold fill her lungs like it could wash the morning out. Trucks rumbled in the alley. Steam from the kitchen vents drifted up in a grey sheet and broke apart. She thought about the scrape of the brake, the look on the old man's face when the bowl landed, the weight of the chair in her hands. She thought about the photo on the shelf and the three kids and the neat row of batteries like a tiny calendar for someone who could not hear his own name unless the battery was fresh. She counted this as an answer to no one but herself. When she went back in, the dining room was full of that low hum again. Forks clicked. A carton of milk sloshed. Son laid a wide rectangle on the floor under the window. "Mr." Alvarez lifted his spoon slow, eyes on it like he was trying to teach it. Lena stood at the pass and watched the steam curl up and vanish in the light.